Hi, reading friends. How are you guys? Good to see you. Today we are starting lesson 5 on headings and subheadings, and we're going to be adding to what we talked about yesterday. So in order to activate your schema, I have just a short video about headings. Let's take a look. In this video, we are going to talk about nonfiction text features. One in particular, headings. Let's see subheading. Subheading is a phrase or question that highlights a key themes or text. For example, subheading can also to best All right, so today our learning target says I can find key details in a text. So I can ask and answer questions such as who, what, when, where, why, and how. I will know I have it when I will write a key detail for each subheading. So today we're talking about headings and subheadings. In order to have success today with our lesson, you need to be able to write a key detail for each subheading. And I'm going to help you with that by giving you an organizer to take notes on, similar to what we did yesterday as well as last week, where you can look at the subheadings and take notes. So let's go ahead and jump into our lesson today. I wanted to include this chart about what is nonfiction. So remember, of course, nonfiction is when we're talking about real things, people, places, things, or animals. What can I learn by reading the heading? So we can learn what the article or the passage is mostly about. For example, you could have a heading that just says bats across the top. And so you know that when you start reading it, it's going to be about bats or owls or night animals or whatever that title might be. So you hear me say heading and title, and we interchange those together because they mean the same thing. The heading on your story or your article is the title. That's what the story is going to be about. So let's do a stop and think just for a second. We're going to be reading, and as we read, we want to stop and think, and we want to ask ourselves, what did I just learn in this section? We might jot down a note, or we might highlight an important sentence. We've been practicing highlighting sentences or underlining sentences that are important. To give you a hint, you always want to note a sentence that has a bold word or the vocabulary word in it. So if you're reading along and you see a bold black word or you see a vocabulary word that maybe is in a different color, you want to take note of that sentence. You either want to jot the note down that the sentence is in, or you want to underline or highlight that sentence because those vocabulary words, those key words are really important. Also, you want to notice what you think is most important about each paragraph or each topic. So as you're reading through, you might think to yourself, or you might notice, I'm wondering what is happening in this part of the story. So you want to take note of what you're wondering or what you're thinking. Also, last week we talked about when we read nonfiction, we want to read it in small chunks. So we want to remember to ask ourselves, why did the author write this? Did he write this article about bats because he wanted to inform us just about places that they live or what they eat? Or did he write this article about bats because bats are endangered and he's trying to get us to help them or protect them? So there's all different reasons why authors may write things. Also, what have I learned from reading this text? Have I learned something new? Maybe you already knew everything there was about jaguars except for this one thing that you learned that was new. That might be what you want to highlight or jot down on a note. What knowledge have I added to my existing schema? And we talked about that last week as well. Sometimes we already have existing schema for the topic. Then we're just adding extra things into that file drawer that opens up out of our brain. We can stick new stuff down in there. So reading in small chunks is important. Now, if we go back and we look at our learning target, to be successful, we want to write a key detail for each subheading. So let's take a look at just practicing. What does that mean? What does writing a key detail mean? We learned last week that key details are the important things we learn. So you're going to notice that I have a little note box here. This could be a journal. It could be a Post-it note. It could be just the little side of your piece of paper where you want to write a note. For us, it looks more like a Post-it note today. But this is where I'm going to put my notes about the topic that we're reading today. So if you'll notice at the top, I have a little paragraph here that I'm going to read to you. And then I'm going to do a think aloud and talk about what I need to type on my notes. So it says, at night, most people are asleep. Nocturnal animals are awake and they are busy. These animals have adaptations that help them survive. Adaptations can help animals hunt or hide. So, Mrs. Deck, I know that you said I need to take a note on a bold word. I see a bold word here. And so I need to write that sentence. These animals have adaptations that help them survive. I don't really know what the adaptation is yet. Maybe they have night vision. Maybe they use echolocation. I don't really know yet, but I know that I need to pay attention to the word adaptations. By looking at that sentence, these animals have adaptations that help them survive. I can understand that adaptations means they have something in their body that helps them be able to survive at night. So I know that from reading that. Also, there's one other thing I want to take a note on, and that is nocturnal animals are awake at night. So that was in this sentence as well. That would be my note for this little area. Now, it really doesn't have a title or a subheading at the top of it, but it does have that bold word and it has information that I can take a note on. So that's what we need to make sure that we're highlighting or underlining or marking. Today for guided practice, I'm going to guide you through the lesson. Today, you actually have the article, Look Out Mouse, and your teacher, your leader, the person that is with you today is going to be passing that out now to you. So you're going to have the Scholastic News article, Look Out Mouse, that they're handing to you now. And then in just a minute, they're going to come around and they're going to be bringing you a packet that the first page looks like this. This is the Read and Think page. This is the page that we're going to use to organize our thoughts. Now, if we look back at our learning target, it says, I need to write a key detail for each subheading. Well, I'm helping you with this. This is not something you have to do on your own because using this organizer, you are going to be accomplishing this learning target today. So if you look at the organizer, it says start reading the article and stop at our eyes. So it means start reading at the top, and then when you get to owl eyes, stop. So don't read that yet. And then we have a question. So we're going to be able to read under those headings. While your leader, your teacher is still passing things out, let's go ahead and let's look at the front. Now, if you do not have your article yet and they're still bringing it to you, that is fine. You can look at the board and watch as I read. So today, I can just look at the front page and I can see that there is an owl, and I can see that there is a little mouse, and I can see that there looks like this is either trees if we're looking from very high, or it could be moss on the ground. We're not really sure yet because we haven't read the article. Let's go ahead and let's look at the title. The title's in yellow and it says Look Out Mouse. I would call that the heading. That's grabbing my attention so that I know what the article is going to be about. Now, if I'm reflecting on the title Look Out Mouse or the heading Look Out Mouse, I know why they're saying that, because this owl, look at him. He is stretched out. He is flying down. He has his talons. These are his bottom legs. His thick claws are called talons. He's got those out. Do you see that in the picture right there? And he is swooping in for that mouse. So someone is saying, look out, mouse, here he comes. So let's read what this paragraph says. It says, it's night, nocturnal animals are out and about. An owl is looking for food. A mouse is trying not to be his food. Who will win when these two animals meet? Okay, so let's do a little vote. I'd like for you to raise your hand if you think the owl is going to win and he is going to catch that mouse. Raise your hand. All right, hands down. Now I want my other voters to vote. If you think the mouse is going to be able to get away, I want you to raise your hand. All right, so we have a few for each one. So let's go ahead and let's dive into our passage. Everyone should have theirs by now. Let's look at nocturnal animals. Now, if I look at this first purple box, it says as you read. That's going to give me some focus as to what I need to think about. It says think about the parts of each animal's body as it helps it to survive. So think about the parts of the animal that is helping it to survive. Now, the only title that I have is this nocturnal animal. And if I stick that side by side with your independent practice, it says nocturnal animal showdown. Nocturnal animals have ways to survive at night. So that's our heading. Ways to survive at night for nocturnal animals. The subheadings, which is our learning target, is these blue little mini titles. These blue little mini titles are called subheadings. Now, our learning target says you're going to be able to write down a key detail from each of those. But don't worry about that because I'm helping you with that with the organizer as we go through. Now, my organizer said, and number one, start reading the article and stop at owl eyes. So let's go ahead and let's read together the first paragraph. As I read, you follow along, but you don't have to read out loud. At night, most people are asleep. Nocturnal animals are awake, and they are busy. These animals have adaptations that help them survive. Adaptations can help animals hunt or hide. Well, now you know from my lesson where I got that little paragraph from, right? I took it right out of this passage because we've seen the word adaptations. And it says adaptations can help animals hunt or hide. So it's something on their body that helps them hunt or survive. Now it said stop at our wings. So let's see what our first question is. It says, how do an owl's wings help it sneak up on animals? How do an owl's wings help it sneak up on animals? I'm thinking we're going to have to read the owl wings section. So let's go to owl wings and let's start reading that section. An owl glides through the sky on its big, wide wings. It is hunting for food at night. Some birds' wings make noise when they fly, but an owl's wings are silent. They don't make any noise. The owl's silent wings are an adaptation. They help the owl sneak up on animals. So the owl's adaptation is his wings. Now, how can he sneak up on animals is our question. How do the owl's wings help him sneak up on animals? So let's think about that for a minute. In the passage, it said that its wings are what? Its wings are silent. The owl's wings are silent. That is how it can sneak up on whatever animal it's trying to get. So if your leader, your person that is with you today for the lesson, if they will just hit the pause button for just a second, you can highlight that in your text and you can copy it off of the board from our lesson. So if your leader will go ahead and pause, I will wait, and you can take a minute, 60 seconds, to write the owl's wings are silent. All right, welcome back. So now it says read owl eyes, then stop. So let's go back to our passage. And here is another subheading, owl eyes. Those are like the mini titles. So it says, the owl blinks its eyes. It looks out into the dark sky. The owl's eyes are really big. Its big eyes are an adaptation. They let the owl see when there's not much light out. All right, so let's see what our question says. It says, what is the one thing an owl might be looking for with its big eyes? Well, I don't think that paragraph answered that question. So let's jump down and see if we have more reading on our next spot. It says, here we go. The owl stares at the ground. Something is moving. What is it? So that might help us a little bit. What is one thing an owl might be looking for with its eyes? So what's it looking for? It's looking for its what? What are you thinking? Yeah, it's looking for its food. Right here it says it is hunting for food at night. Let me see if this will let me mark it. It will not. So let's go back to our question sheet and I will just type that in for you and then you can highlight it in your book if you want. So let's put it is looking for food at night. So again, if your leader, teacher, whoever is guiding you through this lesson today, if they will pause, let me get that straightened up so you can maybe see it a little bit. There you go. If they'll pause the video right here, you can type in that note. You may also want to highlight it or underline it in your passage and copy it right off of your passage onto your note-taking paper. Especially if you can't see the board really good with this. Okay, so go ahead and pause that and we will get back together. All right, welcome back. Let's look at our question 3 and 4 on the read and think paper. So these are where we're keeping our notes about the important events that are happening. The next note says read mouse legs. This is the part that I'm going to turn over to you for independent practice. So on your page that we just left, it says mouse legs. You are going to read these two paragraphs to yourself Okay, remember this word right here is adaptation. So you're going to read about mouse legs, and then you're going to answer question 3 by underlining or highlighting the answer to why might a mouse need to be able to run quickly. So that's what you're hunting for as you're reading. Then it says read mouse whiskers and stop. Again, you're going to do this part of your own on your own for independent practice. Read the mouse whiskers section and answer that last question. Now, there isn't another question about the last subheading, but I do want you to go ahead and read it. And I also want you to underline any key details that you see that might be important. It's called showdown. So this might be where you figure out who is going to get caught, who is not going to get caught. It's kind of like the main event, what's going to happen. So you are probably going to be able to find a key detail by reading that, even though you don't have to put it on your note-taking paper. Once you are finished reading today for independent practice and you have added your notes for 3 and 4, if you have time, the next sheet is a question sheet about the article. Just read the question and mark your answer. Okay, if you have time, you guys can talk about the answers, compare answers, talk about why you marked those. Also, in your packet, there are extra activities that I included. There's a vocabulary activity, a comparing an owl and a mouse, which question matches the owl or the mouse or both. And then there's also a compare and contrast with cut and paste if you have extra time. Now, I know some of you, it might take you a little bit longer to do the independent practice, and that's okay. Some of you may be ready to move on to some of those extra sheets, and that is fine. All right. Also, don't forget to make sure you're reflecting on how did I do today? Was I able on 3 and 4 to write a key detail from that subheading? If I was, then I had a 3 because that's all you had to do to master that target was to find the answer to that question and a key detail. If you were struggling at finding the key detail or reading the passage, but you kind of have the concept, you just need a little bit more practice, then you are a 2. And then if you're not sure and you really needed a lot of help today, that is a 1. So don't forget to think about that self-reflection, even if your teacher doesn't have you do that today during the lesson. All right, you guys go ahead and finish your independent practice, and I will see you soon. Bye, guys.